Should I upgrade my amps or my speakers first? Arlen in Wales, in the UK. He writes, "Hey Paul, I have a very basic hi-fi setup consisting of a Sony turntable, Technics CD player, Kenwood amplifier, and two pairs of speakers hooked up in parallel, a B&W and JBL, which add to form a 4-ohm load. The Kenwood drives both of these speakers with ease. I'm very impressed with the sound quality from these components, and I've heard much more expensive hi-fis that sound worse, but I feel that my system is lacking depth. It has a very clear sound, and I do enjoy it, but should I replace the speakers or the amplifiers first? I believe that these are both the causes for this lack of depth, and I know both of the source devices sound exceptional when hooked up to better amps and speaker combinations. I would also like to add that I desire a little more bass, but not a lot, as the neighbors would probably come and complain." Damn it. Bass does that to us, doesn't it? Yeah, neighbors don't like bass. I remember years ago when we were first designing during the time I was at Genesis in Vail in the 1990s, we were designing the woofer towers for what would become the Genesis 1s, which were the later version of our speakers in Music Room 1, the IRS 5s. And Arnie Nudell and I were, had launched our own speaker company, and were designing the woofer towers for these giant, massive speakers. And we had, just imagine there's 6 12-inch servo-controlled woofers in a 350-pound wooden box, and you get a pair of those going and do woofer testing at low frequencies. Oh God, the bass in that just permeates everything. We were on the 2nd floor, I believe, of the Vail Professional Building, and it was an office that was not designed for such a thing. There was a psychiatrist, there was an office supply store, and a whole bunch of, I think a dentist, a whole bunch of professionals running around. And so we'd have to wait at night, and you do these these low frequency sweeps, trying to, and measuring the output of the thing, trying to see how loud they'd go, how low they would go. I remember once that the bass notes, when I had left it on for a reliability test, like how long could this thing produce a 16 hertz note and 20 or whatever it was, very low frequency. So I turned it on, went out down to my car, which was in the parking lot out near I-70, and I'm standing next to my car in the parking lot, and I heard this rumble, and I realized, oh my God, that's come through cement walls and windows, and that was my woofers. So yeah, bass can be pretty pervasive. So I'm first up, rule of thumb, start with your loudspeakers. Make sure that you have the best loudspeakers you can afford, and then upgrade the electronics second. I know we're an electronics manufacturer, and I want to tell you the opposite, but I don't buy it. And I've been over this more than a few times, but speakers are what we listen to, and they are by far the most colored, the highest producers of distortion, the single worst performing piece of any stereo system. This amplifier right here, I mean, this amp is, it's a $1,500 amplifier. Expensive to some, but not to a whole bunch of people. And this thing is, it's flat as a board down to, 5 hertz, and it goes up to, well above human hearing, very low distortion. We can argue about how good this sounds next to a BHK, one of these guys, and obviously this is better. But when you look at the specs between these two, But you look at a speaker, oh my Lord. Speakers are all over the planet. Most of them don't have any bass. Most of them don't have low distortion. Most of them aren't anywhere close to flat in frequency response. And the fact is we don't want them close to flat in frequency response, which is a whole other subject. But anyway, because speakers are the most flawed component within any system, choose those first and choose ones that satisfy your needs and your tastes. Then amplification second. However, that said, in the case of our friend Arlen in Wales, I think you need to rethink your system. First off, why do you have two pair of speakers? I don't get that. You've got a pair of JBLs and a pair of B&Ws? For what? Why are you doing that? We do two-channel audio, and two-channel audio has one thing in common: two channels, two speakers. Now, if you have a separate subwoofer, I understand and compliment you on your choice. But if that isn't what you're doing, then I don't get what you're doing. So I would rethink my entire basic setup and really figure out what it is you're trying to do. Make sure your speakers, the pair of speakers that you are going to use, are away from the rear wall, because that's what helps us with depth. And I guess if I was at your house, that's the first thing I would do, is work on setup. After that, then let's see where you stand. And you might already have a great pair of speakers and you need to upgrade your electronics. I know it's a little convoluted, but I hope it helps. All right. Thank you for the question, and good luck, especially with your neighbors if you do get a sub.